Hey everyone. Have you ever really stopped to think about what separates a straight A student from a truly groundbreaking researcher? We kind of assume they're the same person, but the truth, it's way more interesting than that. Today, we're going to dive into that fascinating gap between knowing what's already discovered and being the one to discover something completely new.
So, here's the plan. First, we're going to bust the straight A myth. Then, we'll get into this awesome metaphor of being a reader versus an author. After that, we'll talk about why researchers have to get comfortable with uncertainty, and finally, we'll wrap up with what it really means to find your own path in all this.
All right, let's kick things off with the big one, the straight A myth. We're all raised to believe that getting top grades is the ultimate sign of being smart, right? But does that really translate to success in the wild, unpredictable world of research? Let's just ask the question, point blank. Do the kids who ace every exam automatically become the brilliant minds who change the world? I mean, it sounds like they should, doesn't it? It seems totally logical.
Well, it turns out the answer is a big, resounding not really. And that's because the skills that get you a perfect score on a test are just fundamentally different from the skills you need to push the boundaries of what we, as humans, even know.
And wow, if you want a story that perfectly illustrates this, look no further than Masatoshi Koshiba, a Nobel Prize winner in physics. His journey just completely flips our whole idea of academic success right on its head.
I mean, just look at this. In 1951, he's graduating near the bottom of his class. One of his professors actually said, the one thing for sure is that Koshiba will not go into physics. Ouch. But then, fast forward just a few years, he blasts through his PhD in under 2 years, and then bam, 2002, he's awarded the Nobel Prize. It just goes to show you, research isn't about acing a test. It's a completely different kind of game.
So what is going on here? What explains that massive disconnect? Well, that brings us to our second big idea, and it's all about understanding the difference between being a reader and being an author of knowledge. Think about it this way. School trains you to be a fantastic reader. You get really good at absorbing information, solving problems that have known answers, and following paths that are already laid out for you. But research? Research asks you to be an author. You're not absorbing knowledge, you're creating it. You're not just solving problems, you're discovering problems nobody even knew existed. You're not following the map, you're the one drawing it. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Studying is reading the textbook. Research is writing the textbook. As a student, your job is to master what's in the book. As a researcher, your job is to write the next chapter that future students will have to read. It's a total 180. And Galileo was all over this, like centuries ago. Yeah, once a new truth is out there, it seems kind of obvious. It's easy to understand. But the whole point, the hard part, is being the person who actually discovers it. Research isn't about knowing the right answer. It's about that messy, frustrating, but absolutely thrilling process of finding it for the very first time.
Okay, so making that leap from reader to author isn't just about changing what you do. It's about completely rewiring how you think. And that brings us to our third section, learning to actually find joy in uncertainty.
This is a huge one. In school, getting the wrong answer is bad. 100% is the goal. But in research, failure isn't just an option. It's the default setting. Seriously, most of your experiments will fail. Most of your brilliant ideas will be wrong. For someone who's built their identity on always being right, that can be a really tough pill to swallow.
The mindset of a researcher is just built differently. They get excited by questions that have no answers. They don't see a failed experiment as a personal loss. They see it as useful data that tells them, okay, don't go down that road again. They're not driven by grades. They're driven by this deep, burning curiosity. And get this, they actually feel proud when they realize nobody else on Earth is looking at the exact same problem they are. And this table kind of sums it all up in a pretty funny way. You start in elementary school and the instruction is clear. Calculate the answer. By university, it's more complex. Demonstrate the proof. But then you get to grad school and the instruction basically just becomes do something. And it's in that vast, empty space of do something where a real researcher has to learn to live and work.
Now, this is a pretty harsh quote from the mathematician Solom Mandelbrot, but it makes a really important point. He said, "Too many excellent students are no different from well-trained monkeys. They know everything they have been taught, but that's it. The point is, you can be perfectly trained to repeat and apply knowledge without ever learning how to create it. And research is all about creation." Which brings us to our final and maybe the most important piece of this whole puzzle, finding your own path.
This is about the one skill that truly separates the student from the researcher, and it's probably a skill you are never, ever graded on in school.
So here it is, the big difference: problem solving versus problem finding. School makes you an expert problem solver. You're given a neatly defined problem, and your job is to narrow down all the possibilities to find that one right answer. That's called convergent thinking. But research is an act of problem finding. It's about looking at the messy world and coming up with brand new, interesting questions to ask in the first place. That requires divergent thinking, exploring outwards, not narrowing inwards.
So if you're going to take one thing away from all this, let it be this. Great students are experts at solving problems, but great researchers, they're experts at finding them. Answering questions is important, sure, but asking the right new question, that's the engine of all discovery. The Nobel laureate Shuji Nakamura put it so well. He said, if you find out other people are researching the same thing as you and you feel relieved, that's actually a bad sign. For a student, that's validation, but for a researcher, that feeling is a red flag. It means your idea might not be original enough. You have to be okay with being the only one on that trail. And that really leaves us with one final thought, one last question for you. Both skill sets are incredibly valuable, but they serve totally different purposes. So the real question you have to ask yourself is this: do you get more joy from perfectly following a map that someone else has already made? Or does your thrill come from stepping into the unknown with a blank piece of paper and drawing a brand new map for everyone else to follow? Your answer just might tell you everything you need to know.